This is Simongiri Ziambo with the news, the headlines of this hour. President Lazarus Chakwera fires his advisor of allegations of smuggling a 93 billion kwacha loan authorization bill to Parliament. SCB completes investigations into alleged malpractices in award of fuel contracts at National Oil Company of Malawi, NOCMA. And MEC becomes the first public institution to instruct unvaccinated employees not to report for work. Finally, in sports news, Silver Strikers overturned decision to fire head coach Daniel Kabwe and his two assistants. Now the news in detail. President Lazarus Chakwera has fired Pastor Martin Tom on allegations that he had a hand in smuggling of 93 billion kwacha loan authorization bill to Parliament by passing necessary procedures. State House Director of Communications John Kampondeni has told us that this follows investigations that State House conducted after a Nation newspaper expose. Tuesday afternoon, police arrested Pastor Martin Tom and another individual on the matter. Zodiak has information that the Anti-Corruption Bureau SCB has completed its investigation into alleged malpractices in the awarding of fuel contracts at the National Oil Company of Malawi, NOCMA. In June this year, the SCB halted 3 fuel supply contracts to Lake Oil Limited, Durbit International Limited and Camel Oil following a myriad of complaints it had received on alleged irregularities and meddling by some public officials. But speaking to us Tuesday, SCB Director General Martha Chizuma could not commit when the findings will be made public. Fanani Urenda has more.
The Director for the Anti-Corruption Bureau, SCB, Martha Chizuma, says the Bureau is almost through with its investigations into alleged irregularities and perceived corruption in the awarding of fuel supply contracts at the National Oil Company of Malawi. Chizuma has told us in the coming few days, Malawians will be told about the findings on the alleged shorted deals regarding fuel supply contracts at NOCMA. However, Chizuma will not commit herself into revealing the actual day the findings will be released, but stressed that they are in the final stages of their investigations.
We are almost through with the investigation. So I don't want to give you dates because if that date passes, then you get my note. But all I can say within the next few days. So we should be able to come up with a position within the next few days.
Following numerous complaints the Bureau received on alleged irregularities and corruption in the awarding of fuel supply contracts at NOCMA, the SCB issued a restriction order on the said contracts. Among others, the restriction order, the Bureau has to come up on their findings in a time frame of 90 days since they issued the notice halting the awarding of fuel supply contracts. Other players in the governance sector, like the Human Rights Defenders Coalition, have been calling on the graft-busting body to release their findings on the same, saying Malawians have the right to know about what transpired at NOCMA in the process of awarding fuel supply contracts. For Zodiac, I am Vanan Urenda.
Zodiac has established that the controversial Labour Relations Amendment Bill is not part of the 11 bills which Parliament has sent to President Lazarus Chakwera for assent. The bill, which passed in the previous Parliament sitting, brought debate as it sought to approve limitation of number of days that workers can go on strike. Parliament spokesperson Ian Mwenye has said that they are still working with the Ministry of Justice to send other remaining bills to State House. And a source in the Public Appointments Committee of Parliament says the committee has resolved not to confirm Vincent Chipeta as Director General of the Finance Intelligence Authority, FIA. We have information that indicates that the committee is of the view that Chipeta failed to impress during his time on acting capacity for the post. Chipeta has been acting Director General of the Finance Intelligence Authority since December 2019. This report filed by Western Guta.
According to a source in the committee, it has rejected Vincent Chipeta, who has been acting Director General of the Finance Intelligence Authority, FIA, since December 2019. The source said that the rejection is a result of responses to some questions on how, as a person holding the top job, he would advance and better FIA's operations, which he did not impress. Chipeta had earlier told the committee that once confirmed, he would increase quality of output and equip investigators with necessary skills, among other things. Chairperson of the committee, Joyce Chitsulo, said they had done their part, but announcement on whether Chipeta has been confirmed or not is the onus of Parliament's Secretariat.
In terms of how soon the results will be out, that will now depend on Parliament Secretariat, the communication between Parliament Secretariat and OPC. Because like I said already, as a committee, we have made a decision. We cannot leave the interviews open without making a decision. A decision has been made, whether to confirm the person or not.
Chipeta's rejection follows another drama of former Ombudsman Martha Chizuma, who was rejected as the Anti-Corruption Bureau's top dog, only to be confirmed following public outcry. According to the source, the committee has 21 members, of which 17 attended, 15 rejected, 2 confirmed him, while 4 were absent. For Zodiak in Lilongwe, this is Western Guta.
And President Lazarus Chakwera has fired Pastor Martin Tom on allegations that he had a hand in smuggling of a 93 billion kwacha loan authorization bill to Parliament by passing necessary procedures. As State House Director of Communications, Sean Kampondeni, told us that this follows investigations that State House conducted after a Nation newspaper expose. Tuesday afternoon, police arrested Pastor Martin Tom and another individual on the matter. More in this report by Andrew Viano.
National Police spokesperson James Kadadzera has confirmed to Zodiac about the arrest of the pastor, Martin Tom, and another senior government official, adding that they will appear before court Wednesday. Kadadzera further says the two will answer the charge of abuse of office and making false documents. The arrest follows a story carried by Nation newspaper which said some officials had a hand in smuggling a money bill to Parliament which sought to borrow 98 million euros, which is equivalent to 93 billion kwacha, for construction of houses for security personnel in the country, bypassing necessary means. Meanwhile, President Lazarus Chakwera has fired Pastor Tom as his advisor. State House Director of Communications, Sean Kampondeni, says this follows investigations that were launched over the matter, which established that Pastor Martin Tom had a hand in the whole saga.
State House Communication indicated that the President was following up on the allegation that a bill was presented in Parliament without following the regular procedures and without sanctioning by the President, and the President was going to be looking into the matter to find out who was responsible for this. This morning, the President established which advisor was responsible for the same and ordered the Chief of Staff to terminate his contract. Presidential advisors serve at the pleasure of the President. The President can terminate the contracts of any of his personal aides at any time, and he does not need to have a reason. In this case, he has a reason, and he has made the decision to terminate his contract.
During the weekly briefs on Monday, Kampondeni told journalists that President Lazarus Chakwera will launch investigations and take necessary actions thereafter.
There were riots on Tuesday at Likoni Boys Primary School, where learners vandalized school property over allegations of mismanagement of development funds meant for construction of a school fence. The learners went wild after a reminder by the school to pay the development funds amounting to 1,200 kwacha per learner. School head teacher Matthew Zumagwaza expressed ignorance at the concerns being raised by the students and condemned the rioting. So Selina Ngoma filed this report.
It was all calm at Likuni Boys Primary School until the School Development Committee called for students, reminding them of a need for their parents and guardians to make contributions for construction of a perimeter wall. School head teacher Matthews Magwaza told us the message did not go down well with the learners who erupted into destructive violence.
The chair of the school committee came to my office, asked to go to classes to ask for the development fund which the learners are supposed to pay. We don't know if there was a disagreement between the school committee and the learners in the class, but we have just seen the learners doing unnecessary things, throwing stones. So after seeing that, we tried to go out from the office, but I failed to go out.
But some of the students that we spoke to say they were only reacting to the fact that they did not see the fruits of such contributions when made.
Our school has a problem of school blocks. Students are furious with how authorities are operating, and they promised us that a new block will be built after a month.
The school perimeter fence in dispute is visibly half done.
ADMAC says it has secured 62 billion kwacha for maize purchase this season, with priority given to smallholder maize farmers in the country. Its board director, Dr. Alan Chembekeza, said Treasury has given the grain marketer 12 billion kwacha for the purchase, and they have also secured loans amounting to 50 billion kwacha from local commercial banks. ADMAC plans to purchase 1 million metric tons of the grain at 150 kwacha per kilogram. Alex Banda reports.
ADMAC Board Director Dr. Alan Chembekeza says maize farmers in the country should not panic to rush to its depots to sell their grain. Dr. Chembekeza says ADMAC has secured enough funding to buy the maize with priority given to smallholder farmers in the country.
For now, we have about 12 billion Malawi kwacha that we have received from Treasury, and that's the money we're using to buy the first lot of maize. As soon as we exhaust that funding, we're still getting money from our local banks, which is going to be used to buy the rest of the maize. So we have adequate resources to mop up all the maize that is available in this country.
On his part, while briefing the media in Blantyre, ADMAC General Manager Rhino Chipiko assured Malawians and farmers vendors would this season not get a chance.
The mechanism is such that ownership of the whole process of buying and selling maize has been transferred to the committees that the markets have. We call them unit market committees. In these committees, we have a village headman and members of the village development committee, VDCs. And also we have got our own people as officers and security personnel. Any anomalies from our own officers of ADMAC should be reported to this committee first, to the police station that is near the ADMAC market.
ADMAC will be purchasing the staple grain at 150 kwacha per kilogram, while vendors are buying the same grain at 70 kwacha per kilogram. ADMAC says it targets to purchase 1 million metric tons of the grain in trenches of 300 metric tons each. For Zodiak in Blantyre, this is Alex Banda.
You're watching news on Zodiac. We'll be right back shortly. Stand by.
Sompenya amalawi watoto kula malawi 2063 kufika 2063 kale wokomera aliyense achinyamata tikwirane manja kula malawi achinyamata tikale patsogolo kula malawi malawi wozimira paeka malawi wokomera aliyense Malawi 2063 kusinda dziko lathu mokomera aliyense.
Welcome back. A look at the headlines as we continue the news. President Lazarus Chakwera fires his advisor over allegations of smuggling a 93 billion kwacha loan authorization bill to Parliament. SCB completes investigations into alleged malpractices in award of fuel contracts at National Oil Company of Malawi, NOCMA. MEC becomes the first public institution to instruct unvaccinated employees not to report for work. In sports, Silver Strikers overturned decision to fire head coach Daniel Kabwe and his two assistants. The Malawi Electoral Commission MEC has become the first public institution to instruct its employees not to report for work if they are not vaccinated for COVID-19. The Electoral Board's Director of Media and Public Relations, Sangwani Mafulirwa, confirmed the development, adding that the instruction applies in all the MEC offices across the country. He emphasized that the Commission's stand is that getting vaccinated is in the best interest of the employees. Alex Banda reports from Blanda.
The Malawi Electoral Commission MEC has declared a bold stance on COVID-19 vaccination. On Monday, MEC Director of Media and Public Relations, Sangwani Mafulirwa, disclosed to Zodiak the Commission has instructed all its unvaccinated employees to stay home until they at least get their first jab. This decision, according to Mafulirwa, is in the best interest of the employees, their loved ones, and their colleagues. Human rights bodies and other experts are divided on the enforcement of mandatory COVID-19 vaccination in the country. A public health expert from Kamuzu University of Health Sciences, Professor Adamson Muller, feels this is a moral issue.
We are losing dozens of Malawians to COVID. Now the choice is whether we want to continue working without being vaccinated, in which case then we put our own lives and lives of others in danger, or we come up with these sorts of regulations so that we protect life and we continue to work. This is where we are. It's a new disease, and perhaps interventions need to be embraced.
The position of the Minister of Health in Malawi is that vaccination is based on one's choice. For Zodiak and Blanta, this is Alex Banda.
In entertainment news, the body of Eric Mabedi, popularly known as Jacob, has been laid to rest at Catholic Institute CI Cemetery in Blanta. During his burial ceremony, prayers bidding farewell to the departed drama artist were held at the St. Montfort Catholic Parish in the city of Blanta. Happy Geramano filed this report from Blanta.
Artists bidding farewell to Eric Mabedi by demonstrating some of his characters, caring and loving. This was at the CI Cemetery in Blanta on Tuesday, where the body of Mabedi has been laid to rest. It was a funeral ceremony that brought together politicians and artists. MacArthur Matukuta, former president of the National Theatre Association of Malawi, has another description of the departed talent.
He was very passionate about drama. He was very passionate about organizing things, and he is the one who has made the National Theatre Association to come together. He was building up National Theatre Association to higher standard.
Artist and Culture Minister Dr. Michael Usi says government has deliberate policies to groom upcoming artists to fit the shoes of the veterans.
We need to promote culture so that it shouldn't be a phenomenon that is embraced by people from the village only, but it should be a phenomenon that is about Malawi, because culture is about us, what we do, what we eat. It's about us.
Born on 21 June 1963, Mabedi died on Monday in Blantyre and has survived with a wife and 2 children.
Kale tena muna ifi mafusa antu unaweza bora abaka mafu kale raje timalo watu ntimdu kusanduka afisi kuzanya mula yose meli sunga zipeze mo timakasanduka afisi ndikunyamula yose meli bwerani muza.
We now go to sports news. Silver Strikers reportedly overturned its decision to fire head coach Daniel Kabwe and his 2 assistants following a backlash from players. The club's board chair, Dr. Victor Maziopa, has told Zodiak the decision was made at a meeting held on Monday in Lilongwe, and he says players were against the idea of letting Kabwe go with just a few games to wrap up the league. Meanwhile, sports analyst Pari Chinyama has slammed the bankers board for poor management of the saga. And that's how we conclude this edition of the news. And before we go, a look at the headlines. President Lazarus Chakwera files his advice of allegations of smuggling a 93 billion kwacha loan authorization bill to Parliament. SCB completes investigations into alleged malpractices in awarding of fuel contracts at National Oil Company of Malawi, NOCMA. MEC becomes the first public institution to instruct unvaccinated employees not to report for work. In sports, Silver Strikers overturned decision to fire head coach Daniel Kabwe and his 2 assistants. Visit our website, zodiacmalawi.com, for more news. This has been Sibongi Deziambo. Thank you for watching and goodbye.